Perek Vov Mishnah Hey. Welcome to the new setting. The Mishnah continues to set out those items which a woman can go out with on Shabbos. So the Mishnah says, Yetzah Isha B'chutei Se'ah. A woman can go out with bands in her hair, Bein Mishelah, Bein Mishechaverta, Bein Mishel Behema. Whether it's her own hair, whether it's her friend's hair, whether it's an animal hair. In other words, we mentioned earlier on in the Perek that a woman may put some bands in her hair made out of material, wool, linen, etc. And here, and the concern over there was, the reason why she could not go out with those things is because of mikveh concerns, that she would have to take them off when she would be toveles, when she would go to the mikveh, because they're a chatzitza, and therefore we worried she may carry on Shabbos. Here, however, it's mutter for the woman to go out with these insertions of hair in her head, because these things are not a chatzitza. It's proper hair, and so long as they're not actually fastened with some sort of external fastening, they're just sort of tied into her hair. They're not a chatzitza. They're sort of wound round her hair. Therefore, that's considered mutter for her to go out with on Shabbos. Now, why do we need these three instances? Bein mishelah, bein mishechaverta, bein mishel behema. Why all three? So the Baratanura says, Srichi, I need to know the latter two at least. To eat Hana Mishalah, had we just been told it was her hair, Mishum de lo mois, because it's not despicable for her to wear her own hair, it's after all her own hair. But if it's her friend's hair, the mois lo, which could be deemed as unpleasant, despicable for her to wear it, maybe she would take out these bands of hair, and she may come to carry them. And had we just been told her hair and her friend's hair, then mishum de bas minah, because it's all human hair, and therefore it's not visible that it's different. People are not going to laugh at her to cause her to take it off. Therefore, but if it's animal hair, well, that's different. The lav bas minahu, that's not human hair, or minka, and it's therefore quite distinct and it's recognizable. Maybe we're concerned that she would take that off and take it out of her hair on Shabbos, and she may come to carry. Therefore, we need to be told that all these three insertions, whether it's her hair, her friend's hair, or animal hair, are mutter to go out with if they're sort of woven into her own hair on Shabbos. Continues the Mishnah. Over toitefes, a woman may go out with a toitefes, which is, we discussed this earlier in the Perek, the band that goes round her forehead, over sanbutin, the things that dangle off the side, bisman shein tefurin, when they are stitched in to the hat that she is wearing. Because again, if they're stitched in, she's not going to take them off on Shabbos, because she's actually not going to take off her head covering on Shabbos in the street. In Rosh Hashanah, previously, the Mishnah said she could not go out if they weren't stitched in, because there the concern was that if they're not stitched in, she could just take them off and show her friends, etc., etc. B'chovel, with a kovel, which is, we said, some sort of head covering that a woman would wear to protect her forehead, with a per nochris lechotze. A per nochris is a wig, a shaitel, that a woman she can go out with the chobel and the per nochris lechotze, because she's a kovel, a woman would sometimes wear this without any toitefes or sanbutin attached, and a per nochris, if a woman, the Baratanura says, if she hasn't got a lot of her own hair and she needs to wear some sort of wig, a shaitel, then we're not concerned that she's going to take it off in public. Okay, carries on the Mishnah. Just one hara, and that is that given that the Mishnah says specifically the chotzer, the Mefarshim explained that it's specifically a chotzer and it's not a Rosh Hashanah. The upshot, therefore, of our Mishnah and what we've discussed till now is that a woman should not be wearing jewelry or these sort of attachments in a Rosh Hashanah. The question is, therefore, why is it that women do wear jewelry nowadays in a Rosh Hashanah? So the Mefarshim, the Rishonim, discussed this. It's brought down Tosfos. There's a Tosfos which is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Shin Gimel 303. Siman Shin Gimel Halacha Yud Ches, and Shulchan Aruch quotes the Tosfos, and Tosfos says an interesting thing. He says perhaps the reason why there's a difference between why nowadays women would go out in this sort of jewelry or coverings, attachments, Mashen came in the times of Chazal, is because that it's unusual to find the Rishus Harabim nowadays. You see, in the Chaim, to be a Rishus Harabim, there are a couple of criterion. One criterion is that the actual street has got to be 16 amas wide. Another criterion is that, according to many authorities, that the Rishus Harabim itself needs to be traversed by 600,000 people daily. And therefore, since many of our streets nowadays just do not have that, you don't really deal with a proper Rishus Harabim. And therefore, the minhag nowadays is much more makel. That's what Tosfos says. Many authorities do not agree with that rationale, simply because there are authorities who don't require the 600,000 people passing every day. And therefore you could have a Rishus Harabim even without that criteria. And furthermore, says the Aruch HaShulchan that you do find many Rishus Harabim nowadays. So why is it? So a different suggestion is that perhaps in those days jewelry was not as common as it is nowadays. And therefore there was a very real concern that women may well take off some jewelry and show their friends, come to carry in Rishus Harabim. Nowadays, that it's so common for women to wear jewelry, no one's going to take off their new adornments and show their friends, etc. Because women just wear jewelry, it's not unusual. And there are different mahalchim as well, but that's just to alert us to this discussion. Continues the Mishnah. The moich sheba ozna. A woman is allowed to go out with a moich, which is some sort of pad, sheba ozna, to absorb the wax of her ear. The moich sheba sandola, on a pad on her sandal. This is like an insole. It's between the shoe and her foot to protect her foot from the sandal. On the pad that a woman would wear to absorb the dam when she is bleeding, when she has menstrual bleeding. She's allowed to go out with all of these things. But the Bartanura makes a difference between the three as follows. The Bartanura says, with regard to the moich lenidasa, she can wear that even though it's not actually attached, tied in any way. Says the Bartanura, because if it falls out, she's not going to carry it because it's disgusting, it's despicable for her to actually carry it, and therefore there's no chashash to actually carry it. Aval, the pad that she would wear in her ear, the sandola, or she would wear under her foot, unless it is actually tied securely that it won't come undone, that she wouldn't come to carry it. Continues the Mishnah. But pilpel, a woman is allowed to go out with some pepper in her mouth. Why has she got pepper in her mouth? The Bartanura explains, she's putting it in her mouth to get rid of some bad breath, and she's allowed therefore to go out with this on Shabbos, and with some grains of salt she can go out with again on Shabbos, and that's for refuah purposes. The Bartanura says she's got some sort of toothache, and therefore she'd want to put in some granules of salt into her mouth to alleviate the toothache. She's allowed to do that on Shabbos. And any other spices that she wants to put in her mouth for these purposes, that would be mutter. As long as she doesn't do it in the first instance, to do it on Shabbos, i.e. she puts it in her mouth before Shabbos commences, that is mutter. The question is, why not on Shabbos itself? So again, Mefarshim give different reasons why a woman should not put these things in her mouth on Shabbos itself. Why? Because, number one, they say it's because of refuah. It looks like she's undergoing some sort of medical procedure on Shabbos, and of course, refuah on Shabbos is prohibited. That's one explanation the Mefarshim give. Another explanation that they give is that it looks a little bit dubious. It gives the impression that she's just sort of deviously transporting these items from one place to another place. And therefore, to avoid that, she should only do it if she puts it in before Shabbos. And the Mishnah says, if it actually falls out, lo sachzeh. The Tosfos Yontif says that specifically if it falls out onto the ground, if it falls out onto her hand, then it would be mutter. Okay, it concludes the Mishnah. Shen toiseves, which means a fool's tooth. V'shein shel zahov, and like a gold cap. If she's got some sort of missing parts of the tooth and it's capped with a piece of gold, then there's a machlokus. Rebbe Matir, Rebbe says you can go out with that on Shabbos, the Shen Teseves, the fool's tooth, or the Shen Shel Zahov. The Chachomim do not allow you to. Three reasons why the Chachomim do not allow you to go out with the Shen Teseves on Shabbos itself. The first reason is that it looks different. If she has some sort of gold cap or a false tooth on Shabbos, it looks different, and we're concerned that her friends again would laugh at her, and therefore she might take it out. Another reason is that the Ran gives that people are curious. They can see that there's something strange in her mouth, and they want to see it, and therefore we're concerned that she might take it out to show her friends, not out of mockery, but rather out of their curiosity. The third reason is the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi gives a reason that we're just simply worried it might fall out. This false tooth or this cap might fall off, and therefore she might come to carry it on Shabbos. The halacha, however, the halacha is like the Chachamim, and therefore a woman should not therefore wear this false tooth or this cap on Shabbos itself. That is the end of the 5th Mishnah of the 6th Perek.